Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Good Friday show. Attorney General Pam Bondi is out. According to reports, President Trump fired her on Wednesday, and it was reported yesterday. We have the latest in today's show. And who is expected to fill that role? Well, early reports are that Assistant AG Todd Blanche will be filling the role of interim and possibly nominated as the permanent Attorney General. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham made a stop in Greenville yesterday, is calling on two of his rivals to fire campaign staffers. I'll tell you why later in the show.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So Attorney General Pam Bondi has been pushed out. President Trump firing her Thursday. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is rising to take her place. Fox's David Spunt in Washington reports on the details.
Bondi served about 14 months in this role. She and President Trump go back many years. She posted after her ouster, quote, leading President Trump's historic and highly successful efforts to make America safer and more secure has been the honor of a lifetime and easily the most consequential first year of the Department of Justice in American history. Multiple sources, though, say that her problems in this current role began just weeks into taking over as the Attorney General last February 2025 when she was asked about the Epstein files on this network.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
But no client list was ever produced.
And again, Pam Bondi is out, and the question is simple. What happened? What comes next? Well, let's walk through this together because there's more here than probably meets the eye. According to multiple reports, President Trump removed Attorney General Bondi from her position. Her public tone is very positive. The president called her a great American patriot, praised her work on crime, said she's transitioning into a private sector role. That's the official line. But behind the scenes, there are some signs that this may have been entirely not so voluntary. So here's what we do know. Ms. Bondi met with President Trump in the Oval Office just before his national address on Iran. Within hours, she was out, according to the reports. And now stepping in, at least temporarily, is Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who will serve as acting AG. So right away, we've got a transition at the very top level of federal government and at the top of the Justice Department. Reports suggest the president had grown increasingly dissatisfied with Bondi's performance. And if you've been following the story closely, one issue stands out above the rest: the Jeffrey Epstein files. Bondi had promised early on that those files were on her desk ready for review. Over time, that full release never materialized. Remember us following this? Instead, we got a slow drip, bits and pieces, growing frustration from the public. It became a huge, huge story. And let's be honest, this was not a fringe issue. This was something a lot of Americans were watching very closely. You often text me. You've often emailed me. You've left me messages on the MyPillow message lines, which, by the way, they're always welcome, 864-477-JOEY. This is a story that the entire nation is interested in. So when expectations are set very high and they're not met, it creates pressure. Now, let's talk about who could step in permanently. One name that's being floated is Lee Zeldin. Currently leading the EPA, Mr. Zeldin is seen as a strong Trump ally and someone who could bring a different kind of leadership to the Department of Justice. But here's the key point. I don't know that anything is final yet. And with President Trump, as you know, things can change very quickly. Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's a personnel change. Washington does this all the time, and that's true. But the Attorney General is not just any position. This is a person overseeing federal prosecutions, national law enforcement priorities, major investigations, and the overall direction of the Justice Department. It's very important. So when there's a change here, it signals sometimes something bigger. It tells you that the administration may be shifting gears and reevaluating on who they need in what positions to get them through the final 2.5 years. And let's not ignore the timing on this. It all happens during a high-profile international conflict with Iran, amid a Supreme Court battle over birthright citizenship this week. Think about that. Think about the president's day on Wednesday. He made history by showing up at the Supreme Court to hear oral arguments. He gave a major speech on Iran, and now we find out that in between, he fired his attorney general. In fact, Ms. Bondi had just accompanied the president to the Supreme Court that very day. Now, wonder how that conversation went. Is that when they talked about it? Reports kind of suggest that it came later in the day. So there she is, one moment standing alongside the president at a historic legal argument, the next out of a job. And that's how fast things can move in the Trump administration. So let's step back. Let's ask the big questions here. What does this tell us about leadership and expectations inside the Trump administration? Because one thing that we've seen consistently, you got to get results. You got to work at a breakneck speed. And I really do believe that if there's any single thing, and there probably wasn't just one thing that led to her firing, but I got to believe that the Epstein files played a big role in it, don't you? Don't you believe that the way she handled that, and it brought so much criticism and so much scorn to Trump himself, that he was just miserable while this was all taking place? So let's look ahead. Where are we going with this? There are a few things to watch. First, who becomes the permanent attorney general? Again, there's a couple names being floated there. If Zeldin expect a shift in priorities and tone. Second, what happens to the issues that Ms. Bondi was handling, including ongoing federal investigations, crime policy initiatives, and yes, the Epstein file situation. What else can be done there? Do they just start all over? Or do they take up where Ms. Bondi and her team left off? Will those efforts continue? Will they change direction? Or will they stop completely? And then probably the most important, or one of the most important questions is, how does this affect public trust of the DOJ? Because when there's turnover at this level, people start asking questions. You tell me, how does this affect how you feel about the DOJ? Do you think it's a sign that the president realizes that Pam Bondi just wasn't the bulldog that he thought she was to get things done in the Department of Justice, and that he's going to nominate someone who is going to be that bulldog? Now, insiders say that that's not necessarily Lee Zeldin, that Lee Zeldin is more methodical. He's a thinker. That he's tough, but he's not a fighter necessarily. Todd Blanche, on the other hand, he's a fighter from what I'm told. At the end of the day, again, it's Washington politics. Personnel changes happen, and especially in this administration. Think about this. Just a week, 2 weeks ago, we got the news of Kristi Noem being pushed out. And a lot of presidencies, administrations, they hesitate to replace someone because they are thinking about, how does this look for us? Does it look like I made a bad decision when I chose this person to begin with? But that's not how you need to think about these things. And that's what I love about Donald Trump. He's not afraid to say, I need to correct this right now, midterm, and not worry about what people are going to say about it. If I feel like that I don't have the right person in there and we're not going in the right direction, then I'm going to make a change right now. I'm not going to wait. And I don't care whether I get approval or not. And that's probably a good attitude, isn't it? Because if Pam Bondi wasn't the person that he needed in the DOJ, which obviously that's the case, then why wait? Why worry about what the feedback might be? You agree? Text me. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. GOP shots like Ozempic are everywhere right now, but here's the question. What happens when you stop? If you don't fix the reason your body gained weight in the first place, the weight comes back. Joey Hudson here at PhD Weight Loss. They don't just treat the weight as the problem. They treat it as a symptom of metabolic dysfunction, hormone imbalance, or inflammation. If you don't correct those, no shot or hack will ever last. PhD looks at you holistically to improve your health span, your energy, and your longevity, because losing weight is one thing, but keeping it off for life is another. Right now, when you call PhD Weight Loss and mention Joey Hudson, you'll receive 2 free weeks in the program, and they'll cover the cost of your food. That's real results with zero guesswork. Again, mention Joey Hudson when you call 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900. Visit them online at myphdweightloss.com. Stop chasing weight. Start fixing what actually is causing it. Call today. Be sure and tell them Joey Hudson sent you. Get your 2 free weeks in the program. 864-644-1900. Continuing today's Good Friday show. You know, Good Friday is just a wonderful day for those of us in the Christian faith. It's the day that we remember the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his sacrifice for the forgiveness of our sins. It's called good, not because of what happened, but because of the hope and the redemption that comes with that. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Good Friday as we head into the spectacular Easter weekend. Texters, one texter says, who is Todd Blanche? I mentioned Todd Blanche earlier, as he is one of the names. He is the interim Attorney General, but he's also being considered as the possible replacement of Pam Bondi. Well, here's what you need to know about Blanche as he becomes acting Attorney General. He gave up a prestigious law firm job to represent Donald Trump. Before joining the Justice Department, Blanche represented Trump in several of his criminal prosecutions. He gave up a lot professionally for it. So he's loyal. He's committed to Donald Trump. Blanche had worked as a partner at Cadwalader, Wickensham, and Taft. It's now one of the largest law firms in the world after merging with Hogan Lovells. Blanche has long lamented how his colleagues forced him to give up his partnership to take on Trump as a client. Appearing on the For the Defense with David Oscar Marcus podcast in 2024, Mr. Blanche said he was treated differently than lawyers who represented Jeffrey Epstein and Hunter Biden. Blanche said they can have big law represent them, and the big lawyers get awards. They get to go to the galas. They get to speak. They're posting on LinkedIn how amazing they are. But that's if you're representing somebody like the former president of the United States in a white-collar case. For that, I have to leave my law firm, he said. And that he did. He left because he was committed to working and defending Donald Trump. Trump originally hired Blanche to defend him upon being indicted on 34 criminal charges in Manhattan stemming from the 2016 hush money payment to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. He ultimately served as Trump's lead attorney in that trial. That culminated in a guilty verdict, as you may recall. Blanche also defended Trump against the now-defunct election subversion and classified documents prosecution brought by special counsel Jack Smith. And here's the thing. He was once a registered Democrat in New York. Blanche has long expressed agreement with Trump that the justice system was treating him unfairly. He later became a registered Republican in Florida and even attended the 2024 Republican National Convention. So you see there is hope sometimes for some Democrats. We have, that's why we have to not give up on people, keep working on them, keep showing them the light, keep showing them the truth. That's what we do in this show. As the president would sometimes fire other members of his team, as his legal entanglements really just went through the ceiling at times, insiders note how he always stuck with Todd Blanche, and Todd Blanche always stuck with the president. The Senate confirmed Blanche in a 52-46 party line vote. Democrats refused to vote for him over concerns he had helped the president weaponize the DOJ. Since joining the administration, Blanche has been part of the massive reworkings of the Justice Department, including its purges of prosecutors who worked in Jack Smith's special counsel office and other January 6 prosecutors, this according to Fox News. Last month at the Conservative Political Action Committee, Blanche said there's not a single man or woman at the Department of Justice who had anything to do with those prosecutions, boasting, of course, that they had cleaned house. They sent them packing. They sent them home. And, I think that's the kind of guy that Trump wants at the head, maybe not his second in command. Last year, Mr. Blanche spearheaded the Justice Department's talks with Ms. Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime accomplice, who remains in prison. And in recent months, Blanche has helped defend the department's response to the new law requiring the release of the Epstein files. Blanche has said the DOJ's review is over, quote. Now, the Justice Department has also launched various criminal probes into Trump's political adversaries, including New York Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey. According to insiders, Blanche personally signed the court filings advocating for controversial dismissal of then New York City Mayor Eric Adams' criminal corruption case. Several career prosecutors had resigned after refusing to sign the documents. It was a full circle moment for Blanche, according to reports, who had spent nearly a decade as a prosecutor in that office, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He joined the office in 2006 and at one point served as its co-chief of Violent Crimes Unit. So he has that experience in the Southern as a U.S. attorney, and that makes him a good defense attorney. Blanche left, we're told, in 2014 to join this Uber law firm, WilmerHale. He moved to Cadwalader about 3 years later. He graduated from Brooklyn Law School. He clerked for then U.S. District Judge Denny Chin. He wrote on social media yesterday, "Thank you to President Trump for the trust and opportunity to serve as acting Attorney General. We will continue backing the blue, enforcing the law, and doing everything in our power to keep America safe." Is he the right man? Should he be the permanent Attorney General? Do you think he will be more of that bulldog that I think probably Donald Trump had hoped Ms. Bondi would be? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. And always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com and take advantage of all the great deals Mike Lindell has for you. For example, they want you to make 2026 the best year ever. They want to thank you for the year you gave them in 2025. Mike Lindell is extending free shipping on your order and wholesale pricing. For example, the classic MyPillow is regularly $49.98, now only $17.98 when you use promo code Joey. If you've been thinking about getting new bedding, don't buy a new bed. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow mattress topper. You can save up to $100 when you use promo code Joey. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for $39.98. Again, you have to use promo code Joey. So call today, 800-893-4059, 800-893-4059, or go to MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free. And plus, we're supporting a great American company in MyPillow. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. All right, back to the text line. And thank you for that text, by the way. the person asking who Todd Blanche is. Dan says, hey, Joey, on the South Carolina tax reduction, they should follow the property tax and make it reduce and not worry about the income tax, because that income tax rules will go back to where it was starting in 2029. So I'd rather have property tax reduction now and forever. And the guy and the senator that talked about the federal government, it is so true. Dan, thank you. Look, I agree with Dan. You know, the question here, we're talking about taxes. And the South Carolina legislature is just battling. The state Senate and the House are at odds on what tax breaks to give us in South Carolina. The Senate has passed a big property tax relief bill for seniors 65 and above. The House has passed an income tax bill. And also would like for South Carolina to conform with the Fed so that South Carolinians can take advantage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Right now, as it stands, we wouldn't be able to take advantage of that. The two houses are at odds because one wants one thing, one wants the other, and for some reason, they seem to think that we can't have both. Now, we're talking about having a billion-plus surplus again this year. We have consistently had billion-dollar-plus surpluses. I don't understand why we can't have both. Do you? But I agree with Dan. If I have to choose, I want the property tax because that's permanent. And maybe eventually we'll get the income tax. Pete says, hey, Joey, what is ironic about Noam's husband is that it was an illegal alien that leaked everything to the Daily Mail. This explains why Christy has been cheating on her husband with Corey Lewandowski. Maybe so. First thing I thought about when I learned this story about, I think his name's Brian Noam, a crossdresser. The Daily Mail has been printing some of his photos with his big breast. Don from Illinois. Should Congress have stayed in Washington as long as the government's in partial shutdown? Were they not getting paid? Well, they get paid regardless, Dom. You know that. You're trying to set me up, aren't you? Your texts are welcome as well as your emails. Joey at joeyhudson.com. Things got a little testy in the race for the U.S. Senate in South Carolina. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham was in Greenville yesterday and is calling on two of his rivals to fire campaign staffers. Here's the story. Vish Burra works on the Paul Dan staff, and according to Senator Graham, was publicly fired from the One America News Network after posting an anti-Semitic AI-generated video on social media. The video showed a cartoon version of Burra entering a room labeled Scheming Room, marked with a Star of David, where Jewish people were depicted as cockroaches that caught fire and fled. Burra posted this video to his social media with the caption, "Vermin." The post drew widespread condemnation and national media coverage, leading to his termination. According to Senator Graham, just 2 months later, Paul Dans hired Vish Burra to move to South Carolina to help advise him on his U.S. Senate campaign against Graham. He currently holds a prominent public-facing role for the campaign, appearing on television, traveling across the state as a representative of the Dans campaign, according to Senator Graham. Since being an official member of Dan's campaign, his social media presence continues with anti-Israel and anti-Semitic posts, writing F Israel. Senator Graham called him out yesterday and called on Mr. Dans to fire him.
The communications director got fired as a producer at OAN Network because he produced a cartoon with him being in a room depicting Jewish people as cockroaches, setting them on fire. He was rightly fired. 2 months later, Paul Dans hires him. I want the people of South Carolina to know that I will not tolerate this, and I would encourage you to reject it also. This is foul, this is disgusting, and there's no place for this, not only in the Republican Party, but in civilized society. Depicting the Jewish people in a cartoon as cockroaches generated by him. He was fired only to turn around and be hired by Paul Dance. I am challenging Paul Dance today to fire him and condemn it. This is disgusting. This does not represent South Carolina. Does not represent the Republican Party. This does not represent Trump's party.
And with that one, Senator Graham was just getting started. Then there's Evan Mulch, who is with the Mark Lynch campaign. Senator Graham says that Mr. Mulch frequently posts anti-Israel rhetoric on social media. The senator believes, again, that Mr. Lynch should terminate Evan Mulch from his campaign.
The political director for Mark Lynch's campaign, for some reason, believes that women shouldn't be allowed to vote or shouldn't vote. They need to be focused on being worthy wives. I don't believe that's the position of most Republicans. I don't believe that position will sell to anybody except the really disturbed. Anybody with a campaign staffer that says these things needs to be fired. This will destroy the Republican Party. Rhetoric like this, demeaning women. There's no place in South Carolina or any corner of the nation in the Republican Party for this kind of thinking. And if that's not enough, the same man, Evan Mulch, Mark Lynch's political director, has a photo of him with his boot on the Talmud, the Jewish holy book. Is this the Republican Party we want? No. I'm calling on Mark Lynch to fire this man and disavow this. A boot on the holy book of the Jewish people. This is not only offensive, this is anti-Semitism on steroids, and I intend to confront it. I intend to stand up against it. I intend to proudly stand with Israel and vocally oppose this garbage.
After the senator finished his remarks and opened the news conference up for questions, one of the media reps there asked the question, well, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish here? And she also asked about freedom of speech. Do these campaign staffers not have freedom of speech? Here's Senator Graham in response.
The goal is to explain to the people of South Carolina that two campaigns have associated themselves with anti-Semites and slanderous comments about women, that they should fire these people. Vishborough was fired because of a cartoon he generated depicting Jewish people as cockroaches being set on fire. I hope they will be outraged. I hope they will agree with me that these are not the people to be running campaigns in South Carolina. If you don't stand up to it now, it will continue. There's no getting away with this. I hope that people in South Carolina will reject this. I know they will. This is not who we are as Republicans. This anti-Semitism, this hate, this vileness is unelectable. This will not be accepted by the people of South Carolina. And I have every confidence that the people in the Republican Party in South Carolina will feel the way I do. But you're not going to know this unless I tell you. Why am I talking about this? Because I am dead set on making sure the Republican Party doesn't become the Democratic Party when it comes to Israel. That when I see this anti-Semitism, I'm going to call it out. No more passes.
No more passes. So you tell me, what do you think here? Should these two campaigns investigate their respective campaign staffers? What do you expect their response is going to be? Is Mark Lynch going to fire his longtime political director, Evan Mulch? Is Paul Dans going to fire this Vish Burra? I don't know. But if you look at the post, and during the news conference, Senator Graham's campaign staff provided copies of all the documents. And it's clear that these men posted some of the items that or all the items that Senator Graham referenced. And according to his staffer, during the news conference, he was also asked, are these posts still active? Are they still on their profiles? And according to his staffer, yes, they are. You can go to Evan Mulch and you can see these posts. You can go to Vish Burra's site and you can see these posts. They've never taken them down. They may now after this. I don't know. But you know, this is it's going to be an interesting race. Of course, a lot of people are speculating that Senator Graham could be in trouble. I don't know that that's the case, but according to Graham, both Paul Dans, Mark Lynch, in his belief, have intentionally surrounded, he said, their campaign with anti-Semites, all while promising voters that they're family men guided by Christian values. That was one of the points that Graham made. I guess the point from yesterday is let the games begin, because we are in a campaign here for the U.S. Senate. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, you know, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Joining us on the guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. I hope you are. I
am wonderful as we head into Easter weekend for sure. The first of 3 televised debates sponsored by the SCGOP and on Gray Media was held last night in Newberry. 4 of 7 candidates participated. You were not there. Do you still believe it was the right decision not to be there?
Well, I do, Joey, because, you know, my reasonings weren't any of the issues they changed. I've already out fundraised both quarters. My opponents, I'm leading in the polls. So my issue was the lack of concern they gave to our grassroots people. And, you know, I ran on the same ticket with Governor McMaster for 2 cycles. I mean, obviously he was the star attraction then. And we never had pricing like the GOP put out. And $20,000 for 50 tickets, that's $400 a ticket. Mm-hmm. And I just think that it is, you know, it takes a lot to win a race, money-wise. People talk about it all the time. I don't want to squander people's money. And my supporters were like, listen, if we can't be in the audience to cheer you on and we can't afford those prices, that would mean that I would have to take $20,000 out of my campaign to buy 50 tickets at every single debate. Yeah. To have my supporters in the audience. And these grassroots people, Joey, you know, you're a grassroots person. They drive places, they put up signs, this is what they do. This is what they want to be a part of. And the fact that they were pretty much shut out of it, I just felt it was fundamentally wrong. And so I sat out. I'm going to do debates because debates are a rite of passage. I've already said I would do the SDE TV debate. We'll do another debate. And, you know, I'll be on the stage, but I think at some point somebody has to stand up for the people who do all the hard work and make our party what it is. So, no, I stand behind what I did. Had a wonderful interview with Nigel. We talked about my platform. And Joey, I believe I've been the most accessible candidate. I've been and thrown hundreds of events around the state. I've been to every corner of the state. I love to answer people's questions. I love to shake their hands. And, you know, literally a bunch of career politicians on stage, that's really not what people want. They want somebody that's going to, you know, answer their questions, come to where they live, see the challenges they face. But like I said, I'm going to do it because it's one of those rite of passage things, and I've done them before. But no, I stand behind what I did because I really think it was the right thing to do for the people who really take up their time and treasure and don't complain about it. To work for all of us as candidates.
Yep. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Levitt is my guest today. So you say that you're going to do one. There are two more in this series that is sponsored by the SCGOP and televised by Gray Media. Next one coming up April 21st at the College of Charleston. Then the final one will be May 26th at Wofford, where yours truly will be on the panel. So do you feel like you'll do one of those two?
Yeah, I think we'll do one of those two. We'll kind of look at our schedule and see which one fits in the best. We run a pretty tight schedule. Joey, you see anybody who goes on to PamelaEvitt.com to look at where I am. There's some days I do 11 events a day between my official job, between campaigning, between, you know, raising money to win this race. So, you know, I have a pretty packed schedule. I have always believed I was successful in business because I never let my competition outwork me. And I'm not going to allow anybody to outwork me. So I spend a lot of time with the people of South Carolina. So we got to see which date works best. And I might be a little biased, Joey, since, you know, you'll be at the Wofford one. So if I have any pull over my scheduling team, it'll be like, you know, the upstate is where I call home. Wofford is in my backyard. I've been on a radio show with Joey Hudson for 8 years. I think that might be a good one to do.
I think that'd be a smart choice. All right,
You're not biased at all, though, Joey.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. All right, so let's get on to some business here real quickly. The South Carolina Senate voted not to conform with the feds this week. So this means South Carolinians will not benefit from some of the tax breaks in President Trump's big, beautiful bill unless the House and the Senate come to some agreement. What's your message to the South Carolina legislature?
Well, I said it the other day. You know, the Senate, you need to look at the people out there that are being harmed. President Trump passed the one big, beautiful bill to give tax relief to the middle class, to give tax relief to our seniors who have worked their whole lives. And, you know, and now we're on a fixed income. And I encourage the Senate, just like the governor did, to get back in there and do what's right for the people of South Carolina. You know, this is something that everywhere I go, and like I said earlier, I'm at every corner of this state. Our seniors are not happy with what has gone on when it comes to stalling. This is what people hate about government, right? We're seeing it now. Congress should be sitting in D.C. solving these problems because you have hardworking TSA agents, you have hardworking Coast Guard men and women who are working with no pay. Now here in South Carolina, because everybody's got their own opinion, I fundamentally believe, Joey, that the opinion that we should be giving, we represent our people.
Yeah.
And it's not about us and what we think is right. People vote us to be their voice, one collective voice. Go back to your districts and do your own, you know, uncertified poll and ask everybody in your district to tell you what they want you to do. And then go back and do their will, because what I'm hearing is people are really upset with the way this was handled in the Senate. And they need to go back and do some work. So that's what I'm encouraging them to do. Follow the lead of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The whole reason it was done was to help out our middle class and our seniors on fixed incomes.
Yeah. I watched some of the debate in the South Carolina Senate this week on that. And, part of their reasoning was that they have passed a pretty substantial property tax decrease for seniors, and they were concerned about funding both of those. My question is, hey, look, you're dealing with $1 billion surplus. Why not do both?
Well, yes. Again, just the platform of what I've been saying. Let people have the opportunity to spend their own money. By the time it gets to us, there's a lot of back and forth on, are we putting it to the right things? People want to see it go to infrastructure. I think, like I've said, if we want to get down and be competitive with Florida and Texas and Tennessee, we have got to rein in those surpluses. We have got to cut taxes. Then we have to rein in spending as we do in our own homes.
Yeah. We
have to make sure we're spending on critical infrastructure items, on things that affect a majority of South Carolinians.
Yep. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott, always a pleasure. Be safe out there, and happy Easter to you.
Joey, thank you for saying that. Happy Easter to all of my friends out there, all of your listeners. I hope you have a blessed Holy Week. Let's reflect on the sacrifices that our Lord and Savior made to save us, and let's do all we can do to be better. And to really embrace our faith in this very holy time of the year.
Absolutely. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.